I have been driving a Tesla Model Y for the better part of the last 3 years, and the whole reason that I got that car is at the time it was one of the only cars that had any self-driving or autopilot features. Well, this is obviously not a Tesla. This is the Cadillac Escalade ESV Sports Platinum, and this car costs almost 150 grand in Canada. I didn't know that when I was picking it up from the dealership, and suddenly I started driving a lot more carefully. Now, why the heck do I have a car that's worth 150 grand? And no, I did not buy this. Cadillac actually reached out to me because they introduced something called Super Cruise, which is basically their version of autopilot and their self-driving technology. So I was really curious to see how does it stack up against Tesla's autopilot technology. And spoiler alert, I actually think it's better. And before all the Tesla fanboys start spamming the comments, hold up, because I'm actually going to show you exactly all of the things that make Super Cruise so special. Okay, so we're on the highway now, and that's actually the only disadvantage of the Cadillac or Escalade Super Cruise. You have to be on select highways that have already been mapped using LiDAR in either the US or Canada. So it doesn't work on every highway. The Tesla Autopilot obviously works anywhere. And in order to activate the Super Cruise for Cadillac, it's really simple. You have this button right here on the steering wheel, and all you have to do is tap on it. Once you do that, you get some feedback on the screen letting you know that the Super Cruise has been activated, and you also get this green LED on top. Now you'll notice that the car is actually changing lanes on its own. I didn't give it that input, and that's because the autopilot or the Super Cruise on the Escalade is super smart, and we're gonna talk about all the ways it's better than Tesla's. Okay, so we've already talked about the green LED, which is fantastic feedback for when you start driving and when you're in Super Cruise, but your seat actually also vibrates when you enter Super Cruise. So there's a ton of feedback given to you as a driver to let you know that Super Cruise has been enabled and the car is now driving itself. This LED light does turn red if the Super Cruise is about to disengage itself for any specific reason. Now, one of the things that I don't like about Tesla's Autopilot is that if you take your hands off the wheel for too long, it's actually gonna urge you to grab the wheel back and sort of nudge it and let the car know that you're still there. With Escalade and Cadillac's hands-free Super Cruise, it's actually hands-free, and I can completely take my hands off the wheel to let the car drive itself, and it'll actually never ask me to put my hands on the wheel. So as long as I'm on a LiDAR mapped highway where Super Cruise works, I can keep my hands off the wheel for as long as I need to. And what Escalade has done is super smart. There's actually a sensor right here behind the steering wheel that's actually always looking at my face. So it knows what I'm doing. It knows if I look away for too long, and it'll actually prompt me to look ahead and pay attention. And you'll know that happens by this green light blinking, and that basically lets you know that, hey, you need to pay attention to the road and look forward. So I think what Escalade has done to make the driving experience truly hands-free is actually really awesome, because this feels more like a true autopilot. So similarly to how most autopilots work, you can set a specific speed on the car. So right now I have it set to 107 kilometers an hour, and the car will try and maintain that speed. Now, if it senses a vehicle ahead of it, or the car will automatically start to slow down to maintain a safe gap. So there's a button over here that you can use to change how much gap adjust you want between the car in front of you and where you actually are. So that's pretty standard for how most autopilots work. But one of the things I really like about Cadillac and Escalade's sort of distance manager is that it's extremely smooth. I found that whenever I'm driving on Tesla's autopilot, and let's just say I'm in heavy traffic and I have my speed set to 120 kilometers an hour or 110, whenever there's a small gap that appears in front of the car, the Tesla will rush to try and get to its top speed that I've set it at, and it'll basically hit the brakes really abruptly to slow me down because it doesn't realize that I'm in super thick traffic. Whereas the Escalade doesn't do that. It's not rushing to get to its target speed. It does it in a very smart way where it'll smoothly accelerate and smoothly decelerate. So I've tested it a bunch in really heavy traffic, and I'm not feeling any jerking motion or anything like that, and the car drives pretty smoothly throughout the whole time. Okay, lastly, let's talk about the auto lane change feature in the Escalade. So as you'll notice, it actually just changed lanes automatically right now, and that's one of the features of the car. It actually does this whenever you're in a faster lane and you have a higher speed set and you end up catching up to the car in front of you. Once that happens, the car will look for a safe opportunity to pass, and it'll do that automatically. Now, similarly, if you're being tailgated from behind, it'll actually look for an opportunity to move out of that car's way, let that car go, and then it'll come back into that lane. And I've noticed this happen a ton of times on long drives, which I think is a super handy feature. It really makes the car completely hands-free and gives you the experience that the car is driving you around, and you actually don't have to put in that many inputs. If you want to do a manual lane change, it's really easy and it works the same as most self-driving cars. You go ahead and you hit the indicator, and as soon as it's safe for the car to do so, it's going to look for an opportunity and change lanes automatically. Now, the only thing that I don't like is that once it's done changing lanes, I actually still have to turn off the indicator manually. Now, I wish that it did this automatically because it would save me a step, but other than that, I think the lane change features on this are significantly better than Tesla's, just because everything happens for you automatically and you don't have to put too much thought into it. And these are all just things that just make sense when it comes to self-driving cars, and I never really thought of these things myself until I actually got to experience them. So yeah, that's my real world review of the Cadillac Escalade Super Cruise. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and Tesla, if you're watching this video, take some of those recommendations and implement them into your cars, because I actually think it'll make your autopilot significantly better. Now, whether you agree that this is better than Tesla's Autopilot, and obviously it has some disadvantages because it only works on specific highways right now, but it does get me really excited for the future of self-driving vehicles. The Cadillac Escalade has really showed me what the future potential is, and I'm super excited to see what other technologies other car manufacturers and brands start introducing to make their autonomous vehicle or their self-driving vehicles better. I think in the future is going to be really, really dope. And for those of you that have been with the channel since the beginning, we don't really talk about cars much here. It's mostly tech and gadgets and cameras and photography, but I was willing to bring this onto the channel because there's just so much tech packed into this car. But if you guys want to see more stuff about vehicles, definitely let me know in the comments below. That's it for this video though. I'll see you guys in the next one, and until then, keep creating.